Chemical pollutants and human health. Chemical pollutants are pervasive in our environment and can have harmful effects on human health. These pollutants come in various forms, including pesticides, lead, mercury, and other heavy metals, as well as industrial chemicals like asbestos, PCBs, and dioxins. Exposure to chemical pollutants can occur through many different sources, including air pollution, contaminated water, food, and even everyday products we use at home. Chemical pollutants can have negative effects on human health, including cancer, reproductive problems, and developmental abnormalities. One of the most common sources of chemical pollutants is air pollution. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, more than 90% of the world's population is exposed to air pollution, which is responsible for approximately 7 million deaths annually. Chemical pollutants found in air pollution can lead to respiratory problems like asthma, lung cancer, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Pesticides are another major source of chemical pollution. These compounds are used to control pests in crops, homes, and public spaces. However, pesticides can also adversely affect human health. Some pesticides have been linked to cancer, neurological disorders, and developmental abnormalities. Heavy metals like lead and mercury are also major contributors to chemical pollution. Lead was a common component of gasoline until the 1990s, and its use in paint was only banned in many countries in the 1970s. Exposure to lead can cause a range of health problems, including developmental delays, reduced intelligence, and behavioral problems in children. Mercury is found in fish, including those commonly eaten in many cultures, and can lead to neurological problems in young children and fetuses. Industrial chemicals like asbestos, PCBs, and dioxins are other sources of chemical pollution. Asbestos used to be a commonly used building material because of its fire-resistant properties, but exposure to asbestos fibers can cause lung cancer and mesothelioma. PCBs were used in a variety of industrial applications, including electronics and paint, until their ban in the 1970s. Dioxins are produced as byproducts of industrial processes like incineration and can cause cancer, reproductive problems, and developmental abnormalities. Contaminated water can also be a significant source of chemical pollution. Industrial effluent and agricultural runoff can contaminate water supplies, leading to exposure to harmful chemicals like arsenic and cadmium. Fluoride contamination of drinking water can also occur naturally or as a result of industrial activity, and can lead to dental fluorosis and other health problems. Food can also be a source of chemical pollution. Chemicals like pesticides and heavy metals can be found in crops grown in polluted areas, and can accumulate in animals that eat contaminated food. As a result, people who eat meat or dairy products can be exposed to higher levels of these pollutants. Some food additives and preservatives have also been linked to cancer and other health problems. What can be done to reduce exposure to chemical pollutants? There are many steps individuals and governments can take to reduce the risk of exposure to these harmful chemicals. For example, reduce air pollution. Governments can take steps to reduce air pollution from transportation, industry, and other sources. Individuals can also take steps to reduce their exposure to polluted air, for example, by avoiding high traffic areas during rush hour. Use pesticides judiciously. Individuals can reduce their exposure to pesticides by using non-toxic methods of pest control. governments can also regulate the use of pesticides to reduce contamination of the environment and food supply. Reduce heavy metal exposure. Governments can regulate the use of heavy metals in industrial processes, and individuals can reduce their exposure by avoiding contaminated food and water. Avoid asbestos. Individuals can avoid exposure to asbestos by not disturbing or handling materials that contain it. Reduce overall exposure. Individuals can reduce their overall exposure to chemicals by using natural or non-toxic alternatives to cleaners, cosmetics, and other everyday products. Additionally, there are many organizations dedicated to researching and raising awareness about chemical pollutants and their effects on human health. These organizations advocate for stronger regulations on the use of harmful chemicals, as well as for the development of safer alternatives. Another way to reduce exposure to chemical pollutants is to educate oneself and others about the potential risks. Furthermore, individuals can advocate for policies and regulations that reduce chemical pollution. It is also important to note that addressing chemical pollution is not only a matter of human health, but also of environmental health. Chemical pollutants can have negative effects on ecosystems and wildlife, which can in turn impact human health through the food chain and other environmental pathways. Moreover, it is crucial to address the issue of chemical pollutants globally. Chemical pollutants do not respect national borders, and even countries with strong regulations can be impacted by pollution from countries with weaker regulations. Therefore, global cooperation and coordination are essential to address chemical pollution effectively. However, much work still needs to be done to ensure that these agreements are implemented effectively and to address emerging chemical pollutants that are not yet covered by these agreements. In addition to regulations and policies, research and innovation are also essential to address chemical pollution. Scientists and researchers can play a crucial role in developing safer alternatives to harmful chemicals. Innovative technologies can also be developed to reduce pollution and limit exposure to chemical pollutants. Ultimately, reducing exposure to chemical pollutants requires a long-term commitment and significant investment. However, the benefits of avoiding the negative health effects of chemical pollution and preserving the environment for future generations make this investment worthwhile. It is important to recognize that addressing the issue of chemical pollutants is a long-term process that requires continuous efforts and collaboration. While progress has been made in addressing certain types of chemical pollutants, new pollutants may emerge as a result of technological advances and changing societal patterns. Therefore, it is essential to remain proactive in identifying and addressing new threats to human health and the environment. This includes investing in research and innovation to better understand the effects of chemical pollutants and to develop safer alternatives. Moreover, it is important to recognize that reducing exposure to chemical pollutants is not only a matter of public health, but also of social justice. Low-income communities and communities of color are often disproportionately impacted by chemical pollution, as they are more likely to live in areas with high levels of pollution. Therefore, policies and regulations must be designed to address these inequities and to ensure that all individuals have access to clean air, water, and food. In addition, education and awareness raising play an important role in addressing chemical pollution. Finally, it is important to recognize that addressing chemical pollution is not a standalone issue, but rather part of a larger effort to promote sustainable development and protect the environment. By addressing chemical pollution, we can help to create a healthier and more sustainable future for ourselves and future generations. The global community must continue to prioritize the reduction of chemical pollutants, as it is a pressing issue that affects the health and well-being of countless individuals around the world.